Let's turn the sound on, shall we? There we go. Hopefully you can hear me now. A little out of practice. What's it? It's been like 3 weeks now. Yeah, I think so. Four weeks maybe. So I was at Wire Live, so I didn't do one then. And then I don't think I did one the week that I was back because I was getting ready to leave for LaireCon AU. And then I didn't do one last week because I was at LaireCon AU. So yeah, it's been at least 3 weeks, I think. So kind of forgot the setup here. Speaking of which, I'm in the middle of recording a video course, so everything's a little bit blah, blah, blah. And I also lost track of time. Or well, I should say my run took longer than I thought. So I did not change into my standard, geek shirt. So coming straight off a workout, woo, let's get into it, right? Okay. I'm going to attempt not to leak anything, but I'm probably going to leak some stuff. So what I want to do today, I mentioned this video course. For those that follow me on Twitter, you know kind of what I'm doing. The last several months, I've really been focusing on Cloudflare's services, particularly their edge caching, ways to make sites faster. So let's to that point, let's just go look at Caravel. Let's just go look at laravelshift.com, and let me just view page, or not view page source. Let's inspect. Let's go to my network tab, and let's go over to just docs, and I'll hit this page again. Well, that's not fair. That's a disk cache. Well, it is fair because I'm caching the page and the browser cached it. Let's refresh it from here so it properly hits Cloudflare. There you go, 29 milliseconds. 29 milliseconds for this page to load. You barely even saw it refresh in the browser. 29 milliseconds. That's a Laravel app. Beat me. Yeah, I don't think you can because, yeah, Cloudflare's fast. Now, I know Cloudflare went down yesterday and blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing. There are certain bits of the internet that are powered by few things, right? So AWS, Cloudflare, these kinds of things. So many people depend, so many sites depend on those services. The hard truth is that when those things go down, lots of stuff goes down. So it's not like it's just you that's down. Your users, especially a tech-savvy service, a developer-focused service like Shift, yeah, business suffers because Cloudflare went down. I get it, it does suck. But at the end of the day, like, my audience knows, my users, because of the reach of Cloudflare, AWS, or whatever goes down sometimes, they probably know, oh yeah, freaking GitHub was down for portions of the day yesterday. Like, okay, so it's just, the point is, like, you could be like, oh, we shouldn't use Cloudflare. And it's like, well, okay, yeah, maybe we shouldn't use the internet. Like, it's just part of the system, right? So I still think Cloudflare is great. I still think, obviously here, looking at these 29 milliseconds, like, this is pretty awesome. So what I want to do, in the spirit of kind of refining this, preparing some content for the course, and so forth, let's kind of dig in and do this for another site, because, I started working on all these like 2 months ago, and so as I'm prepping these videos for this course, like, I'm kind of just refreshing and proving things out a little bit more. So I thought, why not live stream some of this? It's, it's the whole thing, like, do it a little bit for free. I'm not going to go as deep as I do in the course, of course. But let's kind of see how I structured this. So what I'd like to do is do this for another one of the sites, another one of my courses, an older course. So again, I just kind of popped up the Cloudflare dashboard here. I don't think anything critical is leaked, but let's take a look. So if I look at Confident Laravel, right now we're at 7% cache. Now I've got Laravel Shift, as I've tweeted, up to 98% cached. Sometimes on the weekend when there's less user traffic, meaning traffic that's actually like authenticated session, it's hitting portions of the actual Laravel app, it's not cached at the edge with Cloudflare. on the weekends when I don't have as many users and therefore that many authenticated requests and the cache is getting hit a lot. I'm almost 100%. It's like 99.6%. So let's go to another site. Not as much traffic, but let's go to, as you can see here, not much traffic in the last 24 hours, like, barely 2K requests. So 7%. I think this site could easily be same thing, 98% cached, right? And so what's the value of like caching this, right? It's beyond just the awesomeness of having a site load in 29 seconds, or sorry, 29 milliseconds. Beyond just that, like I'm actually freeing up resources on the web server, right? And so by doing that, if I'm on a shared service, right, where like a couple other sites are on here, then I'm optimizing that as well. So the requests that do come through are the requests I want to optimize for, because theoretically they're some kind of authenticated request or request that needs to be processed, meaning maybe that's a payment, right? So I want those to be prioritized. So if all my other noisy stuff like the landing pages and my images and all that crap never even hits my server, great, right? And there's also request-based services. For example, Nightwatch. A lot of people like complain about Nightwatch because they burn through their quota because there's a lot more stuff going on with their site than they realize. So if you have any kind of request-based service, by caching, you're reducing the number of requests that are actually coming through to your server. So therefore, if you have a request-based kind of service, then you're able to use that a lot more, right? I could turn on Nightwatch and probably run their free plan even on a huge site like Shift that gets a lot of traffic, just because most of the stuff I don't care about, the static pages, aren't even hitting Laravel and therefore not going through Nightwatch's, monitoring. So those are just a handful of reasons why this is good. So let's go to Confident Laravel. And we're gonna set up the scaffolding for all this right now. So let's get back to master. And honestly, I haven't worked on this site in years. But again, I think it's a good opportunity to cache it because, again, it's not changing a whole lot anymore. So let's see like how much of it we can cache. First thing I need to do though is let's run Composer Update and see what actual version I'm on here. I might be on Laravel 11. If I am, then I'm gonna take a very, very tiny detour and we'll run Shift to get it up to 12. I don't need it to be on 12, but like if I'm gonna get in here, let's just make sure it's updated, right? Especially the creator of Shift. I can't be running an old site. What does that look like? That's not fair. Okay. PHP artisan version. Okay, good. Good. All right, cool. So let's just do git add dot git commit dash hello type, and we'll just say composer update. All right, let's push that on up. Okay, let me bring up, let's do one more thing. I already kind of know the answer to this, but again, to kind of be thorough, again, in the faith of like in the good faith of like showing as much of this as possible, like in preparation for this course, like which pages do I want to cache, right? And this is kind of like the 80-20 rule. Like I'm gonna get the most bang for the buck by caching the pages that get the most traffic. More than likely, that is going to be your homepage, right? We're almost positive that's the homepage. I mean, just by caching the homepage, I could probably end up being 60, 70, 80% cached in Cloudflare just by that. So let's verify that though first. So I think the easiest way to do that for me, I think I could just jump on the server and troll the last 24 hours of access logs. Like I think that's the easiest thing to do, right? We don't need to not everybody has like analytics, and the Cloudflare free plan really doesn't give you a whole lot of like depth if you view more analytics. Like it doesn't give you a lot of depth in like the actual page. The actual pages. So yeah, I think we could just troll the logs here. So let's do web, and let's get what could we do here? We could cat, I think I have this command. I think I was running this a few months back with Shift. Let's do unique. Yeah, there we go. All right, we'll run that. And then let's change this to confident Laravel. And in the spirit of potentially not leaking, let's Let's go full screen me for a second. Where are we? What did I do here? I somehow muted myself. I'm pressing too many buttons. Screen only. There we go. Can we hear me? I don't even know if we can right now. What? Movie audio and system audio muted. I don't want to be muted. How did I mute myself? I thought Command 2 like did what I wanted, but it's not. Okay. Here we go. There we go. Let's just click buttons instead of try to do quick keys. Okay, let me just make sure this doesn't like leak out some weird stuff. So let's get this right first. Confident. Let's pull the right log. I'll run this command. Let me just make sure it looks good first. Okay. Ooh, this already gives me ideas of other stuff I want to do. This is hilarious. Okay. This is really good. Okay. Because this leads me to like something else I want to talk about too, which maybe we'll do in a part 2. This is going to be like a multi-part little thing here. So let's go back. This is funny. This is so funny. Okay. Let me click the right button to share my screen. Let me also bring up Confident Laravel and PHP Storm. There's so many things going on right now. Okay. Let's go back to Cloudflare. Let me get back to Cloudflare. Make sure I didn't click any wrong buttons. Okay. Let's go back to shared screen. Okay. Okay, we should be shared screen, back to Cloudflare. Let's jump over here. Check this out. Okay, so I've run this command. I'm catting out just the most recent 24 hours of access logs straight from one of the web servers. We're just going to pull out the URL portion. We sort it, we unique it, right? Okay, so when we do that, we're basically going to get like a ordered sort of all the stuff that's coming through here. Check. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about here. Check this out. First of all, pretty much everything here isn't even a real page on my site. So look at this. Look at all the potential attack vectors that they're trying. Like, look at the crazy WordPress bots that are out there. Look at all the stuff they're trying to hit, right? Okay, so first, let me just make a point about this. Let me go out to like Laravel News, Jason McCreary. I think this should pull my articles. Or I think I can click my name and get my... No, oh, Eric posted this one for me. Eric, thank you. Let's see here. Laravel News. Oh, Paul. I was hoping to click my name here. Okay, let's just go to Laravel News because I recently have an article. I want to point out a new article. Here we go. Separate page cache. There's me. JMac. Let's click me. Blocking invalid requests. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so I wrote this article a few weeks ago. This is also going to be part of the course. Again, I'm trying to put a lot of like free content out here. Like you could piece it all together if you want. But here you go. This is basically a rule that we can put on Cloudflare that says, hey, only the traffic that's real for my application, only the endpoints that are available in my application, we can make what they call a WAF rule or a security rule. And that's what this post is about. So basically it ends up blocking, look at all this other crap that was coming through for LaravelShift.com. So just looking at these access logs, it doesn't look like much, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 20, 20. But if you add all of that up, right, most of the, like .env, terrible. Other than password reset, robots, purchasing power, register, and login, WP login 41. It's my fourth highest request. It's not a big number here, but imagine a bigger site, right? 41 requests, are for a thing that doesn't even exist, and my web server is processing that, right? Doesn't need to. So adding this WAF rule that I talk about in this article, and there's a JT made a package that'll actually generate this rule for you by analyzing your route lists. Like, we can make that. So I'm tempted to hijack that right now and make it. I don't know. Let me know in the chat what you think. We could change gears and make this WAF rule real quick, because we would immediately remove server traffic, unnecessary server traffic. So anyway. Let me know in the chat. I'm gonna pause for a second, and there are some things in the chat from earlier. So, okay, loud and clear. Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, mic's working. Thank you. It wasn't working when I first turned it on. I got this new shotgun mic, which I think it has better clarity, but the problem is it's not always on, and sometimes I forget to turn it on. Hey JMac, are you attending LaireCon EU next year? Oh man, no. LaireCon EU, two things. One, I just got back from LaireCon AU. I'm a family man now. I can't be going to all the conferences I used to go to years ago. Second, LaireCon EU is kind of my unicorn LaireCon. I do submit occasionally. I've never been chosen. I really wish they did it in a different location. If they did it in a different, nothing wrong with Amsterdam, but I've been there multiple times. So like, if they went back to Lisbon or another European city, I would go as an attendee just to go and make it a Euro trip as well. But like, I just can't justify it doing the other big conferences and like already have been to Amsterdam. I mean, again, if they choose me to speak, I'll go. But I don't always submit anymore. Hey Samuel, how's it going? All right, we're not getting anything in the chat. We're not getting any votes here in the chat. So, we took a little setup time here. How deep are we? I'm gonna make the call then. I'm gonna make the call in the original cache idea. Okay, all right. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with the cache idea. Not the problem, but if I write the cache thing up today, we're not actually going to be able to see it in action because it's, I'm going to have to deploy it and push it up and then we're not going to see these numbers change in real time. It would be next week that we would see them change and I'd probably have to do some additional tweaks. Whereas this, I feel like I could actually deploy this in Cloudflare like right now and we could probably start seeing some stuff. But anyway, let's see here. I'll move on with the cache idea and let's see how long it takes because I don't think that's actually going to take that long. We'll move on with the cache idea, but next week I'm going to do this WAF rule because I think we could deploy that real time and start to see the numbers come in. Again, the whole goal here is to reduce unnecessary requests to the server, and unnecessary is not only invalid requests, right, but also requests that could be edge cached. And you could do all this with Cloudflare for free. It's all part of their free plan. There's no money here. So I'll proceed with the caching since that's what we called it. But we should do the WAF rule based on what I'm seeing here. Like I said, I'm coming into this blind. I might be leaking stuff and whatever, but I haven't run this command. So this is interesting to me how much of this is crappy requests. So I definitely don't want those hitting my server. So we'll do that next week. Let's move forward with the cache. So let's get out of here. We know, based on this, we know two things. We know that register and login, admin's not real. So of the real things, sitemap XML absolutely could be cached, right? Same with robots.txt. API purchasing power is obviously an API endpoint to determine if you have purchasing power. Now we could rewrite that to use Cloudflare's services because they have geolocation services built in. So that's another thing we could do. So again, there's so much depth here. That's kind of why I went the course route. There's so much depth here to cover that like just off of what we've found information-wise of our most top 10 requests. And again, not a lot of traffic here, but it doesn't matter. The numbers here are irrelevant more or less. It's our top 10 pages of these. Basically, half are invalid and 3 of the other 5, can be cached. So really only 2 requests here matter, right? Okay, anyway, let's get moving. All right, let me go over to PHP Storm. So there's a lot of stuff out there on the web. Actually, there's not a lot of stuff out there, but the top few results for caching with Cloudflare actually kind of put you down a dangerous path. I talk about this in the most recent Laravel News article. So again, all free, all out there. I'm going to go way deep on it in the course. But like, long story short, they kind of put you on this dangerous path. So I've found that when you want to cache with Cloudflare, it's much better to be what I call explicit, right? Let's be intentional. So I think the best way to do that is if we go into, let's close this actually. Let's go into bootstrap app.php. Okay, PHP Storm, files. Files is what I want. There you go. All right. So down here, there is a then. And then takes basically a function And I don't think you have any arguments that come in this. I don't think. Let's go out to the Laravel routes. Routing. Let's go look. There's a then in here somewhere. Yeah, so you just get a function and we can add some more stuff. It's funny because this actually wasn't documented for Laravel 11, and I sent it in to Taylor, and he took like the exact thing in here, which is kind of funny. So this is actually a code snippet from laravelshift.com. Okay, so we have then. I don't know why that got pasted funny, but there we go. Okay, so what we're gonna do is instead we're gonna call this static, right? You could call this cacheable or cached or whatever you want. I just like static. It's a little old school. You know, when I started all this stuff a long time ago, like, 2008, I worked for a Fortune 100 company, and like, I was actually technically a front-end engineer. But they were very big into like optimizing their site. And back then, you kind of called it static assets. So that's just why static is in my head. Anything that like didn't change, we knew that we could cache it to like the maximum amount. So that's just why I call it static. We don't need any prefix. We don't need any name. And what I'm going to do is introduce a new static routes file. What this is going to do is it's going to separate the routes, like not only visually in the code, but because of this separate middleware group that I'm about to create, we can tone down all the things that make pages in Laravel by default uncacheable, so to speak. So let's register this, and then down here we're going to need to say like what is in that middleware group, right? So I think if we do a search here for group, there we go, route groups, we can make our own. Nope. It's a middleware group, not a route group. Do they have that on this page? That might be on the middleware group. There we go. That's on the middleware section page. So let's go there. Middleware group, we got the default groups. Let's make a special group called static. They don't have an example on their own, but we're basically going to borrow this one. All right, so let's borrow this one. We'll change this to static. And then we do want to substitute bindings. Substitute bindings is what does the route model, not route model bindings, but all route parameter, or route bindings, if you will. I kind of wish that was called substitute route bindings, but that's what it is. And then we're going to need to make our own, of course, for caching. So this will basically be this one, and we'll make our own here, and we'll call this like set cache headers, right? This doesn't exist, so let's create it. And this is where kind of the beef is. Okay, let's go see what we need to put in here. We'll borrow this, boop, boop, plop. All right, and right now it does nothing. That's fine. All right, let's bring in closure. I don't know why that didn't come in. You're a closure. Okay, what's going on in the chat? Let's see, your audio is still good. Wonder if you could run a job to upload your routes with to a Cloudflare rule and say don't accept anything outside of those. That's kind of what that package does. I don't know if I still have the article up. Yeah, that's basically what this package does. It doesn't automatically upload it, but like, because you should review it. And there's other things you would want to add that are outside of your kind of your route list. But the point is like this package basically gives you that rule. It would be very easy to update that package, give it an API key, and have it set that rule for you. But I just don't think, I really think I would very, very much encourage you to review it before just turning on a WAF rule, because you could deny valid requests very, very quickly. In fact, when I was messing with this with Shift, I kind of did. There's some gotchas there is the point. They've all been kind of refined in that package because I worked with JT on it, but like you should review it is the bottom line. Okay, so we'll run that package next week because obviously going back to kind of all of this, I mean, half of this traffic is dumb. It shouldn't even come into the server. So what we want to do here is set the cache headers. Now again, There are other ways to set the cache headers. I'm going to go much, much deeper on this in the course. They kind of just don't do it. They don't do it the right way. Or they set your cache headers, but in the process, they remove other headers, which might be important for your page. So that, there are caveats. Like, I'm not saying like the things that you'll find out there are wrong. They will set the headers, but there are more implications than I think those packages are kind of providing for you. Oh, I also realized like none of my lights are on. There we go. That might help a little bit. Okay, so what we want to do here is we basically want to set the response headers, right? Now, to get the response, we kind of have to turn this into a terminable middleware, right? Or something that, runs at the end. So we can say response equals, that's basically going to fire us off to the next thing. And then we're going to add, there we go, thank you. And then we're going to return response. So this just kind of makes sure that we do this at the end, so to speak, right? Now we don't want to say no cache. That's actually what the default is. What we want to say instead is public, meaning that anything can cache this, okay? And then we also want to set a max age. I'm fine with a day, to be honest. And then this is good enough, okay? Now, I'll go deeper on this in the course, but there are a lot more what are called directives that we can set with this cache header. We can give it some more rules about how the cache should be managed. Given the age of the site and the lack in which that I change it, I am okay with kind of this basic set of directives here, right? Just anything can cache it, and it can cache it up to a day, all right? I'm okay with this because, again, Confident Laravel is like a 5 or 6 year old course now. I'm not changing it at this time. And for now, we're really only going to apply this to the homepage, which, again, I'm not changing it. If I am, I can bust the cache, or worst case scenario, a day later, someone's going to see the new page. No big deal, right? I'm okay with that. All these, it's an it depends scenario, but we'll go deeper into the directives. I'll go much, much deeper into the directives on the course. But for now, this is fine. So we're basically saying any cache out there, not just Cloudflare, any cache on the internet, including your browser's cache, can cache this response for up to a day, right? Okay, there we go. So we've got our middleware. It's going to set the cache headers. It's going to return the response now, right? So this is going to override the internal cache headers that Laravel sets, which are basically private no cache, meaning nothing should cache it. And it can only be cached privately. Meaning only your browser. So basically your browser can cache it, but it doesn't have a max age, so your browser basically re-requests it every time. So that's the default that Laravel does. So nothing is cacheable by default in a Laravel app. Okay, we've got our middleware group set up now. We've got a separate middleware group. All it's going to do is set headers, and it's going to substitute bindings. If we go back to the documentation, what we've basically removed is everything that makes your application stateful. Excuse me, let me get a drink of water. So notice here in the standard web middleware, everything that we've removed is basically stuff that's either session or cookie based. Everything that would make an application stateful, right? The web by default is stateless, but because we're making this middleware, we now can have an application that knows to kind of talk to each other between requests, right? And that's good by default. That allows us to do very easily all the things we do in a web application. Again, to make it stateful, to manage state between requests and build an application that a user can use, kind of in a fluid way. But any of these turned on by default, again, make your page not cacheable, or at least you probably shouldn't be caching that page, meaning you could cache a version of that page that had user-specific data on it. That's not good. So by turning all of that off and making a separate middleware, static middleware, again, we're being intentional, and we're also kind of like visually organizing what is actually statically cacheable. So let's go make this now, and we're going to start bringing over some routes into this. And in the process of doing that, we now have pages, again, that are going to be telling Cloudflare to cache them. So let's do a touch on that. And then let's go take a look at static. And let's see what's in web. And we'll basically start pulling over things that we know can happen here. All right, that permanent redirect's a little interesting already. Okay, and we should probably just go look at the site too. So for now, we know that the home page is cacheable, right? Or at least we think so. So we're gonna go analyze this, but let's kind of go take a look. So let's go to confident.laravel.com. Okay, so where does this buy now go? This buy now goes to the bottom. Where does this go? Okay, this just pops a old school Stripe checkout. I'm surprised that still works. Crazy. Okay, so this pops. I wonder if there's anything about that that's not cacheable. I wouldn't think so since it's JavaScript based, but I'll have to look into that. There's nothing on this page otherwise, though, again, that shouldn't be cacheable for a day, right? Like, I'm not adding more videos. Look at me. Gosh, so old school. So I'm not adding more videos. You know, we're not changing testimonials. There's nothing on this page that, like, rotates in any kind of way. So I feel like the homepage should be cacheable. But let's just kind of keep going down the line here. Let's go take a look at this and just make sure. I'm going to make sure like there's nothing in here like that's session based. I don't see anything right now. I'm just going to kind of scroll. So lessons, those come from the database. Again, that is dynamic data in the fact that it's building out the page, but it is cacheable dynamic data, meaning that the stuff from the database is not changing per request. This is all kind of static now. It just comes from the database. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else in here that like, nothing in here is like session. I don't see any session. I don't see any cookie. There's no words in there that would make me think something's wrong with that. And again, we could fire this up locally, and if there is, you know, you're going to get an error. If you're using any kind of session stuff and we've turned off all that session stuff, you're going to get one of those like cache store, you know, session store not set, you know, kind of errors. So let's just prove that for a second. Let's do PHP artisan serve. Old school. Pop this up. Okay, network address. What's wrong? Select. Oh, well, we don't have MySQL running. Can I do SQLite? I might be able to do an SQLite database. Let me go full screen me and just make sure there's nothing. I don't want to leak anything in my env file again. So let's go back here. Full screen me. Sorry, everybody. Sweaty JMac. Let's get in my .env.dev. And let's change MySQL to SQLite. Let's close that. MFS. All right. Let's try serve again. Pop it. Why are you still trying? Ah, beautiful. Okay, cool. So we're good. Let me go back to shared screen. Shared screen. Okay, server's running again. We reseeded everything in an SQLite database, and boom, exactly what we wanted. Here you go. Look, see, there's something on this page that is attempting to use session in errors.blade, right? So my guess is if we go back to our index.blade and we click up into app, I bet you somewhere in here in the layouts. Oh, there it is. Partials error. I'm going to take this out. Again, I'm not going to deploy this right away. I'll do some more research on this, but I'm going to take that out. But we've proven what I said. If you are using any kind of session stuff, this is, again, to avoid the whole point of making this intentional is like an explicit is we're making sure that we could never show any session data here. I'd rather see an error during development than cache something in production thinking it's fine and it actually had stateful data. Okay? Very, very nasty. So again, another reason why we're making a separate middleware to just make sure that we could never do any kind of session stuff on this page. So I just had this partial errors thing floating out there. I don't even know if it can be used for the page because there's no forms on this page. I just have to make sure that that Stripe data kicks you to somewhere else, right? So the point is like now if I refresh this, I get the home page, right? Okay, Stripe checkouts, that's fine because we got an old invalid key. But the point here is that everything is loading on this page other than like the video thumbnails and stuff, which probably just I seeded those wrong or something, or they have to be opened up for my local domain. That's probably what it is, actually. I think Vimeo's locked down to my .wip test domains. Yeah, exactly. So the point here is the page is loading now. So we've turned this very simply into a static page. We knew that it was, but in the process we figured out that, oh, there was some errors that could potentially display. So I just need to go figure out, does anything actually redirect back to index and display an error? It doesn't look like it from the order controller, right? I'm not doing any session state stuff here, but I just need to kind of scan the code base to make sure nothing can kick me back to order controller index that would potentially demonstrate some kind of error or session information. So I'm gonna verify that off stream, but that's basically it. So let's run Pint just to make sure I got everything all cleaned up. And let's just do a git add-p to kind of review what's here. And let's review what's here and then we'll make a plan for the future. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. We can get rid of that. Everything else is a new file. Okay, interesting. Oh, sorry, I did quit. So let's D that. Okay, so we added a new static middleware group in Bootstrap. We registered that. So yes. And then we defined what middleware is part of that static middleware group. In this case, simply setting the cache headers and then substituting bindings, meaning route parameters get injected. If you didn't do that, then you wouldn't be able to do like implicit model binding or any kind of route binding. We got rid of this errors. I'm gonna not put that in there for now, just to like make sure I'm doing it right. And then everything else was a new file. So this and this were a new file. So that's all we really did. We basically added a new static middleware group, which is, you know, something I covered in much more detail in my recent Laravel News blog post here. So this kind of covers exactly what we just did today. And yeah, here's this new command actually that I added, a new option that I added to Laravel that just got released yesterday. So there we go. If we limit what's in static middleware in our routeless group, it is only the home page for now. There might be other things, right? I haven't looked. There might be the FAQ page. There could be other things. We could go so far as to cache the register page as well, the register form potentially. So there's things, we could take this farther, but based on the number of requests coming through, we saw that while it's not a high number, a majority of requests, 350 out of the 400 or so that we saw in there that were valid, 350 were simply the homepage. So can't do that math off the top of my head, but what is that, 7/8, right? So 7/8, I don't know what percentage that is, but I mean, it seems pretty high. What's that, like 85%? Like 85% of the site's gonna be cached now. We're gonna go from 7% to 85%. Just by this change. What was it? 20 lines of code here that we did, a little less. We got some deletions here. So, 20, 30 lines of code, we're gonna be 80% cached probably when we're done. When we add the WAF rule to get rid of the requests that are completely invalid, we'll probably be 90% cached just from two simple changes. Caching your homepage, which is probably cacheable, and then the WAF rule. 90%, go from 7 to 90%. And we haven't even gotten into the cool stuff yet. All right, let me check the chat and then we'll make a plan for next time. Similar to what Statamic does, you can cache all pages and move the dynamic portions into separate component that gets served by Ajax. Alpine Ajax has a nice lazy load example. Yes, exactly. We haven't even gotten into the actual caching strategies where you can take a dynamic page and make it cacheable. This was just low-hanging fruit. The homepage doesn't change at all. This is easy peasy. Yeah, we can go so far as to cache certain types of forms even. We can cache things taking a small portion of the page and making it, loaded by Ajax. There's a lot of stuff. So there's 4 or 5 different strategies that I plan to cover in the course. That's what I'm working on now. But anyway, I'm going to try to get this deployed. I just want to make sure that errors can't be there. And that old school Stripe checkout makes me slightly nervous. So I just want to verify that. But the goal here will be I will deploy this. It'll have a week until next Wednesday we'll see that cash number tick up. I'm guessing high 70s, maybe even 80% cash just from this one page. And then we'll work on the WAF rule next time. So just by doing these two simple things, both again, out here as Laravel news articles, if you want to dive in immediately, great. But yeah, if not, if you're a little timid about it, again, there's a lot underneath here that I didn't necessarily cover. There's a lot of depth, a lot of theory. But yeah, jump out to fastlaravel.com. You know what's coming. It's a video course on everything that I've been learning, over the last 2 months with Cloudflare services. Again, all of this stuff is free on Cloudflare. So sign up here, get some updates. Again, in a few weeks, I'll send out a full update when the course is more complete. And then the only way that I'm going to discount the course is if you're early access. That's the only people that are going to get a discount if you're on the early access list. The course will launch otherwise at full price. I'm not going to do the whole discount for a day or Black Friday or anything. This course has a lot of value, as I talked about, like being able to cache your pages, speed for users, limiting other services that you pay for because you're reducing your requests. Like, there's a lot of value here. So anyway, I will see you all next week. Thanks for joining live. We'll do the WAF rule next week and we'll check these results. So see you then.